This type of con, that is a bargain bin discount because the level of quality and professional things that are put into this con, you could, I'm not saying you should, you could charge $65 a day. Hello and welcome to Coscast Season 2. I'm William, also known as White Fang Cosplay.
And I'm Alex, also known as Strictly Cosplay.
So glad to be back after our half-year hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of
It's been a while.
Yeah, I kind of had a sudden stop to it accidentally. Just schedule-related things, and it kept getting pushed back into oblivion. But we didn't forget about it, and it's back here, back better than ever. We got lots of new things. But before I go into all the changes, I first want to give a moment to our sponsor, yet again, Hero Hair, for Season 2. Hero Hair is the world's first and only custom cosplay wig company run by motion picture and television industry professionals. Hero Hair creates screen-accurate feature film grade lace front custom cosplay wigs and facial hair included, directly from the cosplayers' inspired imagination in any genre, movies, television, comics, or even original concepts to complete the cosplayer's transformative illusion. Hero Hair wigs are the state-of-art, the absolute highest level of quality that is physically possible, using the most advanced cutting-edge design applications, methodologies, materials currently at the vanguard of professional custom cosplay wig industry. These entertainment professionals bring with them a combined total of more than 100 years of experience in crafting one of the most complex and often misunderstood aspects of cosplay itself, the wig, the literal and figurative crown of cosplay. Hero Hair would also like to mention that they will be live at Katsucon 2019. The Hero Hair team will be on site in support of several of our esteemed custom wig clients and hashtag official Hero Hair cosplayers, performing our custom crew client services all 3 days of the con in preparation for all the new wig premieres at Katsucon 2019. Our co-founders, Aaron and Travis, will be traveling to crew these clients live, on site at Katsucon, as they premiere their Hero Hair custom wigs, crowding all new cosplays. And join in the fun, and at least one full Pride Crew cosplay you'll have to wonder about for now. We can't wait to experience our first live presence at Katsucon, and to see all of your amazing cosplays. Hero Hair, the real wig experience. So, Season 2 for Coscast. We are changing up things just a little bit. We're still gonna have all the topics and things that we have before, but we're splitting up in how it's delivered. So normally we've been packaging the conversations of cons right before everything else, being our tips, our features, our main topic of the episode, anything topical. Now we're gonna separate the majority of the con talks as their own separate con reviews / recaps immediately following the cons. We're hoping for within the week, within a few days if possible, but it all depends on how quickly we recuperate. Right. I'm sure you guys can understand.
Usually you need a couple days just to reflect and get back to reality from a con.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But we're hoping to get that content out to you so you can fight that post-con depression with us and just hear some people talk about how good of a weekend that we had. Hopefully it was a good weekend.
It's like when you're looking through social media and such, trying to find new content from the con that you just went to, seeing if somebody did a music video, extra posts, that sort of thing. So this will help with us because we'll be able to get it out and we'll also be able to have you guys listen to it at the same time.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that, and that's going to be nice. And those, like I said, a couple days after the convention that we're going to. Our first one is going to be after Katsucon, and that'll actually be the next episode that comes out. We're hoping to bring it to you just a few days after Katsucon, and we'll have a bunch of things to say about that, I'm sure, as it's my personal favorite con of the year. It's a hell of a way to start the year for cons, and it's really exciting, and there's always lots to talk about, as it's a really, really big convention for cosplayers, that is.
Oh, definitely.
Numbers-wise, it may not be the biggest, but it's up there.
It was pretty crowded last year, though.
Especially
when everyone's put inside because of the weather.
So, that being said, we're going to have those convention recaps after the conventions that we go to, and with that, we're also going to have our regular monthly episodes where we have more topical things from the community, our conversation pieces that we have, as well as our tips and tricks and features of our cosplayers. So you can expect those to come regularly once a month. And in addition to that, having those con recaps. So we're hopefully pushing out more content to you this season. So we're excited for that. Speaking of a KatsuCon, we are officially being brought there by KatsuCon. They have provided us with some passes, so we're looking forward to give you a really nice review from that. We have lined up some wonderful interviews, which will be announced after the fact, for the next episode, the next full episode of Coscast, about our next topic, and that's going to be really fun. And we have some really cool guests lined up, so I can't wait to show you who those are. I can't wait to see the episode. But yeah, we got some cool stuff happening at KatsuCon. And speaking of cons, this episode is kind of like a weird in-between. We're going to just take a moment as a soft open to this season of all the cons that happened last year. What our thoughts are, as there's a few that we haven't talked about on the show yet. And just kind of a look back at 2018 and how it was for cons.
Okay.
How did your year start out for conventions?
My year started out, I want to say it was with Aricia. I think that's how you say it.
Which I didn't go to, but you did.
I did go to that, yeah. It was my first time going, and it was definitely a smaller con. It was like in the downstairs of the hotel across from the Boston Convention Center. I forget the name of it. But it's where PAX East happens. Mm-hmm. It's that hotel. And it was decent. It was very, very small, and it felt like it was more based towards gaming and LARPing. And for that con, I basically went last minute. I made a 1 week cosplay. Like I built a cosplay in a week, and it wasn't that great, but it was still like a learning curve, I guess. And I don't know, it was small, and like there was a lot of interesting stuff to see there. But when it came to cosplay, it didn't seem like it was like up there, basically. Like it was one of the priorities for people who were going there. Right. They just want to see interesting, cool things, basically. It was kind of like a very, very condensed version of Boston Comic Con and a little bit of PAX East mixed in.
Yeah.
Sort of like a little bit of mainstream stuff and then gaming, board game stuff.
It doesn't have like a super defined genre of things that they're going for.
Yeah, it felt like a mixed bag a little bit.
Well, is it trying to be an anime con or like?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it's anime con. But with a small con like this, usually it's going to be a fair amount of anime cosplayers. I think going to that because let's face it, we thirst and hunger for cons. Like, we need to find a new thing to do, like anything, something. And because of the long hiatus from the cons that end in like the winter time or like before December, for Christmas and everything like that, to the start of the con year, it was a nice way to sort of kind of get back into it.
Yeah.
It was like a small thing that got me a little more hyped for cons, I guess.
Awesome.
And yeah, then we went from that to Katsu, which is a huge span.
Well, before we get to that, I had my own con opener that you didn't go to.
Oh, okay.
I went to Genericon up in Troy, New York.
Did that happen before or after Katsu?
Oh, that was before, right? That was definitely...
No, I think that was after.
Was it?
I thought that was in March.
I'm gonna have to
because I remember
fact-check
you
myself
went and
now.
you checked it out, but I was I think I was still recuperating from Katsu.
When did... Okay, hold on. Yeah, I could have sworn because it was like what I'm going to allude to is the fact that it opened with a blizzard, so that was a thing. Mm-hmm. Good grief.
I think I must have.
No, yeah, you're right. That was in March.
Ha.
So
first try.
Let it be known, Alex was right. KatsuCon was my con opener. We'll come back to Genericon. KatsuCon last year was fantastic. I think the one problematic thing that they had during the weekend was Saturday. They had it was snowing, it was bitter cold, and it was bad enough that in the afternoon section people didn't want to go outside, which was really problematic because Saturday afternoon is the single most busiest time for that con because everyone typically brings their best cosplay of the weekend on Saturday, and during afternoon is just when you're going to have the majority of said shoots, group photo shoots, personal photo shoots, all that good stuff. And when the outside is what allows everybody to be spread out enough to where it's not too crazy. But during the prime time of KatsuCon, everybody was basically forced to be inside, and there was just not enough space. And I have to say, I know we touched on this once, so I won't go over it too deeply. This is the one time that I was at a con, and I was being really disappointed by the attendees because I felt like I was lacking the common decency that we usually see with everyone there. People were bumping into each other, but they weren't constantly saying sorry. People were stepping on each other's toes, sometimes quite literally, and the whole atmosphere that afternoon, as soon as like noon came and that storm came, there was like an underlying tension that started to going up. And like progressively, everybody in the con that afternoon started to get more and more and more annoyed. Before, I wouldn't say that the vibe got toxic, but people were pretty peeved and definitely not at their best behavior that afternoon. Things did cool down. All things were good, but it was frustrating to see people not be their best collectively that afternoon. I wasn't either. I will add, I was not either. I was having a hard time because I was personally trying to do some video shoots, and that was a dumb time to try to schedule those things. Because with video shoots especially, you need more space than a regular photo shoot. And I was planning on doing those outside, did not have that option. It was very hard to do, and there was just no space around. And it was very frustrating for both me and other cosplayers. And yeah, besides that, there was no other complications from the con itself.
Not especially. I mean, that was the one thing that really was really difficult for me with Katsu, because with Katsu in general, it was a long haul. We're going there with a lot of cosplays. We're trying to make sure that everything's safe and secure. We took a bus, so I was just worried about my stuff. So we were on a bus for like 12 hours, and well, like when you're as tall as I am, which I'm 6'3", it's not fun to be like cramped in that small space. So I was pretty on edge for most of the weekend, but Saturday it basically brought it all to the top, and I was basically having a mental breakdown at that point. But
a lot of us were.
Yeah, but Sunday helped a lot. I wouldn't say that Katsu was absolutely incredible and amazing, because it was still a difficult time for me. But I am looking forward to it this year.
And a good thing you mentioned the Sunday thing, because I want to say that something that KatsuCon taught me is that a rough Saturday or a rough weekend in general can be saved by a nice, chill, and relaxing, not really much planned out Sunday. And I really started grabbing onto that idea of, let Sunday either be a non-cosplay, Kigu cosplay, or super casual cosplay day, and allow it to give yourself the time to make sure that you get your time in with your friends, to make sure that you have, that lunch or dinner date with somebody. Especially as people are leaving, that's the prime time to have like a send-off, meal with. We always try to unofficially have one of those. And it's a good time to make sure that you've checked out all the stuff in the dealers and artist alley. And it's a good time just to kind of wander around aimlessly and just kind of take in everything before you have to leave. And make sure that you have the end of this con be a slow ride down and not just an abrupt halt.
Yeah, because that was one of the problems that we had with
Anime Boston.
Cons. Yeah, Anime Boston.
And we'll get more to that in a bit. But I definitely, because I had a stressful Saturday. It wasn't a bad Saturday. It was a stressful Saturday. And it was one of those times because it was just a lot. And it was one of the moments where you take it about, you're like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. Everybody has those moments.
Had that. Well, we were con crunching for so long. The Katsu crunch, which is, it's terrifying, and we're all trying to get stuff done. And then we get there, and our stress levels haven't gone down. We're still like on edge the entire time, and I'm just like, why am I doing this if I'm so stressed out? And it basically, I think Katsu was the thing that actually helped me decide to take a little bit of a break from actually building things for cons for a little while, because after that I made my Genos armor, which is basically just arms. But after that, I took basically the entire summer not building a cosplay, and let me tell you, it was like so stress relieving. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a great time. I think I wore my Toothless Kigu for Sunday. Did not have a care in the world. Just whatever happened. It was great. I bumped into a lot of people that had been meaning to say hi that weekend that I either didn't see or didn't have the chance to. Basically saw everybody plus more that I was wanting to see, because that's another great thing about KatsuCon. It's one of the places where you see basically everybody. I remember after the first day of being at KatsuCon, chilling in my bed, scrolling through my Instagram feed, and looking how literally everyone I was following was posting stuff about Katsucon. Like 90% of my feed was Katsucon related stuff. And for a second, I'm like, wait, am I on the hashtag like Katsucon?
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh no, this is just my normal feed. Like this is what my feed is. It's just Katsucon stuff. So it's a really, really, really neat time and atmosphere to be for cosplay. And I think that it's really easy to overhype. It's really easy to overplan. And it's really easy to be stressed out. And especially as this is coming up, I implore you to please take yourself easy. Don't crunch at the hotel when you're there, because I did that last year. That was stupid. I know I shouldn't have, but I did it anyways. When you're there, you gotta switch modes. You gotta switch from crunching, and you gotta switch to being present at the con and enjoying yourself and taking it in, because you crunch for that reward. If you're gonna let the crunch overflow into the con itself, you're ruining what you're working so hard for.
Yeah.
And you can't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
So, word of advice for that. That's my 2 cents. And that's that.
Yeah. There's Katsu.
Yeah. So next was Genericon.
Yeah.
And whew, I went up there because I have a friend who lives up there, and she's always coming down to come to our like more localized cons. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a good friend. And I'm going to go up to her local con, even though it's out of the way for me, but she does this all the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up there and do this. She said it was a good small con. It's like, good enough for me. I like small cons. We had a good episode talk about big cons versus small cons. Feel free to listen to that. And yeah. However, and I want to preface that this is not a knock against Genericon. It's just unfortunate timing, and just the way it was handled could have been better. There was a blizzard that Friday of the con. It was a nasty one, and a lot of people were traveling for this con because it's in Troy, New York. So unless if you're in Albany or in Troy, you're traveling to this con more likely more than a half hour away. And in that blizzard, it made it really, really hard. I had a meeting in New York City that day that I planned since I was going to New York, even though it's not really on the way. It was like more on the way for me than ever, you know, because I don't go to New York that often. So that really got me caught up in the storm, and it was really stressful to get out of Manhattan with that, and just a really stressful time. The con had to cancel the Friday of that con, which I've never been to a con that's had to cancel one of their days before. That was kind of a new experience. And the thing is that first they said it was canceled, then they said it was not canceled, it was canceled again, and then people were like, is it actually canceled? It's like, no, it's actually canceled this day. And so that was a bit confusing with the message. If they're going to cancel it, stick with it, please, and just let that be. And granted, they can't see this coming, but they were just not prepared to have the people who are being there all weekend and the people who are showing up just for Saturday to come into the con to pick up their badges all at once. They physically did not have enough people to take in all the registrations, even pre-registrations, and they had quite a sizable line and wait time, very, very disproportionate to how big the con was.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of people annoyed, and I understand it's where they're coming from. It's really hard, so I'm not trying to get that hard knock on them. And not many cons have that kind of plan. What do you do when you cancel the first day of the con? Not many people know. They had to reschedule their whole like panel thing for all the Fridays and try to fit much as into the weekend as they could. And I want to say that they really tried. Even though that it definitely didn't go very smoothly, they really tried. So thank you guys for everything that you tried to do. Hopefully other cons can take this as a lesson to have a backup plan when disaster strikes like this, because it could happen to any con.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be somewhere up in a small con in Detroit, New York. Besides that, it was an all right time. It was kind of hard because it really set the mood for the entire weekend. I had a lineup of 4 cosplays, immediately brought it down to 2. Yeah, 2. Because it was just too stressful to get everything down. I had a rough experience in New York City. My car got towed, so there was that. That's my own personal experience. I'm not pairing that with the con experience, but I was very stressed on top of the snowstorm going into it. A lot of people were stressed, and I had to really, really tone down the effort I was putting into this con, and it was tough. So take it what it is. Hopefully it's a learning experience for them, and hopefully other cons can take it as a learning experience. I would recommend that con only if you're local. I would not recommend traveling an hour plus to that con, just because it's hard for them to offer something that's worth coming to. They're still trying to find their footing and what makes them unique. And they've got potential. But I think that they have a lot to work to make it something that's worth traveling a long distance for.
I definitely don't regret not going with you. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's all good. It was definitely one of those experiences where you have memories because of the turmoil that you had with your friends, you know?
The turmoil you had with your friends, like being like you and your friends had turmoil with everything that was going on, not with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like we bonded together because of the crap that was going on, so yeah. So shortly after that, we had Anime Boston. No, wait. Anime Boston?
Anime Boston, then PAX East.
Okay, I was trying to figure out, because they were a week away, so I was trying to figure out which one went first.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, was it Anime Boston first?
Yep.
Okay. Anime Boston first. Great time. Anime Boston has, I gotta say, really moved past all the security stuff that they've been going through, all the crowding and entrance and exit things that they've been going through, all the staff issues that they've been having. They have let other cons take note, because they have done so many changes to make this a really, really exemplary anime con experience. It's one of my favorites. Why don't you talk about it a little bit?
You're talking about Anime Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. Luckily, we got there Thursday this year, so we were actually going to get pre-reg. I think I had a pretty decent time, but again, it was short-lived because we weren't there for Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to actually remember Anime Boston last year just because we weren't there for the entire weekend.
Yeah.
It was on Easter weekend and we had to head back. But Thursday was good. I think it was actually, I want to say one of my first times actually going and cosplaying for Thursday. No, I also did that at Katsu, but this was like...
Well, it's because we didn't have Sunday, so we were personally like trying to fit another cosplay in there for the weekend.
Well, I actually made a cosplay for Thursday because I was doing a duo group with our friend. I was doing Denki and she was doing Jiro. So that was pretty exciting. It was my debut of that cosplay, sort of, but it was still really fun because it was more comfortable, casual cosplay. And then I made my my Genos cosplay for Friday, and it was literally just like a last minute sort of idea. I was like, I think I'll do this cosplay. It seems pretty simple enough. And whenever I say that, it's always, no, it's not actually that simple. You need to figure it out. You got to figure out a lot of stuff. But I was pretty excited about that because it was a new cosplay. It was my first time using magnets, lights, and wearing contacts. Those contacts didn't last very long for me because they had an expiration date, but they were the scleras. So they're the really, really big contacts that cover your entire eyeball, like the whites of your eyes. Right. And having that as my first contacts was pretty rough. I think I handled it pretty okay that day. I still
can't believe that granted you did practice with smaller ones, but basically your entry point to colored contacts was scleras.
Yeah, that was, I don't really do contacts anymore. Like it was rough. It was really, really cool.
It was a phase I was going through.
I think I looked really good with those.
You did.
But they were very, very uncomfortable. It's just having something on top of your eye was like...
I think that's something that you plan around photo shoots. So you say, I've got a photo shoot for when I start wearing this cosplay. After the photo shoot, I'm taking the contacts out so I can be comfortable. Because I cannot express, you really should... People don't, myself included, don't put comfort on a high enough priority list when you're cosplaying.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I was wearing those contacts pretty much all day. I think I took them out once, but I was wearing, like, they're part of the character. They look so, like, the cosplay looks so much better with those, and I feel bad whenever I cosplay that character now because I don't have the contacts anymore. I'm just like, squint my eyes so nobody can see, that sort of thing.
I had that one experience when I was doing Makoto at AAC in 2017. I forgot my contacts, and it just didn't feel right. Yeah. I changed out of it pretty quickly because the context was a big part of that cosplay because it's got those really bright yellow eyes.
Yeah, these were black and yellow, so they were very
same thing. Yeah.
Intense.
And I've got baby blue eyes, and it just didn't look right because he's a very serious, gritty character, and all of a sudden it looked too much like me. I feel like the context really flips the switch to me looking like a happy-go-lucky person to oh, snap, he means business.
Oh, for me too, because with the black and yellow scars, I'm like, I look serious and I look angry and I look very, I look more like a machine. Like if you don't see the whites of someone's eyes and it's yellow instead, it's like they're less than human, which is what I was going for. And then I take pictures of myself, or I get pictures of myself as Genos without them, and I'm just like, I look too human. I just don't look like what I'm going for, basically. But those are really they're very uncomfortable, but very cool. Saturday was a very rough day for me, and I think for a lot of people, because that was a pretty big My Hero Academia day. So I was wearing Ida. My friend was doing Uraraka, and she was very uncomfortable, and she's wearing high heels for most of the day. I mean, I was just like, that's rough. And we tried to go to a photo shoot, and that didn't go too well because it was like the meetup, photo shoot meetup for all the cosplayers, and that was across the street. Everyone was trying to get into a small room. We're walking around. One of my friends felt like she was like really sick after that. She got better, but even after that, we're trying to hasten over back to the center because we had our private photo shoot going, and we're just trying to find the guy. We didn't know where he was, and eventually we got it, but by that time we were all just drained and tired, and we weren't really enjoying ourselves for the photo shoot. So after that, I think we literally all just got out of our cosplays. But Anime Boston, I know it's a really good time. I had a pretty good couple of days there, but my last day was just really rough.
And it's hard because in that case we didn't have a Sunday to make up for that, because Sunday was Easter, and for us, we want to be with our families for that. And it's rough because that Sunday is such a good way to slow down the hype that is Saturday of any con. Whether it's stressful or not, it's always up there as far as intensity of the weekend. It's always the most intense, whether it be intensely good or intensely bad.
When you leave on the most intense day, then you don't have that satisfaction of having ended it on a high note, I would say.
It literally, in a way, it almost feels like, when you're watching a movie and there's always that really tense point going into the third act.
You mean the climax of the movie?
No, right before the setup to the climax.
Okay.
Where, the stakes have been set. Like an awesome scene happened. It was really great, but now it's like we have to do this one thing to overcome whatever is going. And can you imagine getting to that point where it's like a cliffhanger, where it's like, oh, and here's the cliffhanger, and it's leading up to the last climax of the movie, but instead you just stop there. You never finish the movie. It's kind of what it feels like.
I kind of feel like Saturday is not particularly the climax, but sort of in that space, and then Sunday is the sort of winding down from the movie.
The topper.
Yeah, it's wrapping everything up.
And for people who normally go to weekends, leaving on a set, because the thing is, it's different than going for a single day. Because when you go out there on the Thursday and you do that whole process of setting up for a weekend, you're at a hotel and that whole thing, your mindset changes. Yeah. When you're only there for a day, you don't have a hotel, you don't have these crazy expectations or all these big plans. Usually it's a lot more calm and direct in what you're trying to do. And that's that. You're not mentally getting too invested of making this an entire weekend thing. But when you almost fool yourself into believing that I have till Sunday to make everything happen that I want to happen, it's really disruptive to end it on a Saturday night. That's hard. So I know that Anime Boston has a lot of scheduled dates coming on the same weekend, and I know we're not alone in saying that we don't go to Sunday because of Easter. And it would be really cool if they could change it. I'm sure they have it on that weekend because it's one of the easier weekends for them to get, because other conventions don't want to be hosting on Easter weekend, understandably. But hopefully they can get out of that weekend in the long term, because I know that out of the next 4 dates that they announced, only one of them doesn't fall on Easter weekend.
I think one of them's in May, actually. So it's pretty late in the year for Anime Boston, at least.
But also doesn't help that Easter doesn't have a set day. It's constantly changing.
That's true, yeah.
So it's it can be difficult, Yeah. So, but yeah, staff there is perfect. So good, including security. Had a really good experience.
I didn't have any problems. My security guard literally joked about, I think it was my prop weapon or something. It was like, oh, this isn't real. Oh, come on. Or it might have been another con, but I know that they were pretty nice.
And then the last thing I'll leave off with for Anime Boston is a staple of that convention is their masquerade. You gotta go. If you never go to any masquerades in your life but Anime Boston's, make sure it's that one, because they do such a good job of presenting it, making it exciting, not sticking too long on any portion of their show, keeping it moving and interesting. And it's one of the most professionally and just interesting, fun events that you can do, panel-wise. And anime, it's a great way to cap off your Saturday night, Really, really good time. I've gone 2 times in a row now and haven't regretted either time. I plan on going this year. It's going to be great. So yeah, definitely invest in that. Yeah. So after that, week right after that, freaking PAX East.
I was lucky, lucky-ish, because I only did a day of that. The problem was, that was Saturday, and that's the most busy day, so I was still stressed out from Katsu, I was stressed out from Anime Boston. Going to PAX on a Saturday...
Because you went only for a single day.
I went for a single day, so I'm not much of a gamer, so I wasn't able to enjoy it, like, fully, or appreciate it fully. But just going Saturday in uncomfortable cosplay... It was rough. I was cosplaying Jean from Ruby, and I had that huge chest piece, and I was just bumping into people and everything, and I was uncomfortable.
Right.
And like, I'm excited for this year because
you're going more days than just one now.
Yeah, but also I'm actually cosplaying from Overwatch, and I know I'm late to the game, but I really, really hope that they have that payload green screen thing in the front, because
they do another. Yeah.
I really, really want to do that.
Awesome.
That was pretty awesome.
I will say that despite the massive crowds that PAX East yields, they are one of the most effective cons of dealing with crowds. They have very clear defined lines for all their games and stuff. And they have people, and this is the crazy awesome part, they have people whose sole job is to monitor those lines, making sure that they're capped properly, making sure that the overflow isn't bad, and people are staying within the taped lines that they have, and making sure that traffic flow between the aisles is healthy. And there was literally only one moment, which I think was like Saturday evening, you know, when things are at their like hype, which I can understand being a problem, where I was like bumper to bumper with people, and it was really uncomfortable. But it was literally for 1 minute out of the 4 days that I was at that convention. No, wait, 3. I was only there Friday to Sunday. Literally only 1 minute of that entire weekend that I had one of those moments. And if you can see how big PAX East is as one of the biggest conventions in New England, it's super impressive. And big props to them. And speaking of props to like the people there at the convention, they really treat their cosplayers well. And I understand it's a little bit easier for them because there isn't as much of a cosplayer showing there. The cosplay to attendee ratio is much different than most conventions. I'd say about 20% of the attendees cosplay. And it's very low. Not bad. Not that the quality is bad, but there's just such a big presence of people who are there to play games and check out the stuff and things of that nature. I'd
say that a lot of the cosplayers, like most of the cosplayers, they weren't all down in the main hall for most of the thing. Like, most of us were on the outskirts taking pictures together, that sort of thing. And one of the things that I really appreciate about PAX was that they literally had a cosplay lounge, like a place for people to relax, maybe get a drink, get some snacks. They had snacks for us cosplayers, and they had couches.
That was
and
crazy.
I was like, I want this for all my cons. But the problem is again, like, PAX East isn't a cosplay con per se.
Yeah.
Most of the other cons are like, oh, you want to dress
up. So like, you can't bring that to KatsuCon. It's not possible.
No. KatsuCon is the cosplay lounge basically, except you're not lounging, you're walking around as much as you can.
So it's really neat, and you go in there and you're like, why doesn't every con have this? And then you realize it's like, oh, because it's not physically possible. Like, because basically what this is, the best way to describe it is that it's like a green room, and you're being treated like your official guest there.
I felt like a VIP.
Yeah, even though literally you didn't need a special badge. All you need to do is have a cosplay on, and then have someone at the door, and anyone who wasn't in cosplay wouldn't be allowed in. And really, like, truly, only people in cosplay were allowed in there. And it was really great for people who had crazy big cosplays. Take a moment to like half undress, get that water, get the snacks, take any time that you need for repairs, and just take a half hour or so just to not do anything, catch your breath, and then go back on there all fresh and ready to go. So refreshing, and man, I wish more cons have it, but I am more than sympathetic to why they don't exist at majority of cons.
I'd say that was the highlight for me at PAX, was seeing a cosplay lounge, and then also it's like...
you get to connect with all the other cosplayers.
Oh, definitely,
there. That's so cool.
Well, when you're downstairs, you're walking around as much as you can, seeing all the things, so you see a cosplayer in the distance, you're just like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then this is where, like, cosplayers, we all connect in one way or another, so going to a place where we're all cosplaying, we're all trying to just relax. We all know the feeling of just being drained at a con while wearing a cosplay. It was really inviting, and I really appreciate it.
I would like to see if other cons could incorporate it with some sort of VIP pass, where you pay separate fee whether for it's like for the next level badge or if it's for a separate specific badge, like a cosplayer badge, where with this cosplayer badge, you have access to this cosplayer green room. So that way they can limit the amount of cosplayers that can go in there. This would be something that would be good for something that has like a 50 to 60% cosplay to attendee ratio to test it out. I would not recommend it for like Anime Boston or Katsucon.
Are you saying 4-packs they should have?
No, not for packs.
Okay, good.
For
I
other
was like, don't change packs. I like that.
Because the thing is that they don't have the luxury of doing that because they don't have a lot of cosplayers.
Yeah.
But other cons. So say
Boston Comic Con?
Boston Comic Con, good example. The next one that's coming up on our list, Kineticon. That would also be a decent one to try that out on.
I mean, yes and no. I'd say with Kineticon, I don't think we'd have to worry about having like a cosplay lounge per se, just because there's so many places that you can relax.
Okay,
and it's also
fair.
So close to outside too. Like, if you need a breath,
but that being said, if you paid for a lounge that had all those same amenities, not just a place to chillax, but a place to rehydrate. Like, so there's drinks provided that's included with your ticket, and there's snacks and fuel there, and just that kind of general stuff. That'd be worth paying extra money for, knowing that you have a place to retreat to, that not only can you rest, but you can easily get access to water and to, like, some sort of substance that's not, you know.
I mean, with snacks, not so much, but I would say that they already kind of technically have a lounge per se across the street at the hotel where they have the gaming room, where you can stay, like you can be in there,
That's
you can
true.
rehydrate, and then there's a lot of couches on the outside of that room that I was personally able to go there and I was able to relax, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd say that I don't think Kineticon really needs that sort of thing. I think they have enough space.
I will say that even this concept would not work at Katsucon, and it would not work at Anime Boston, where the cosplayer to attendee ratio,
it's like 70 or 80%.
Like Katsucon, possibly 90%. Anime Boston, I'd put at 80%.
Okay.
Because a lot of people at Anime Boston even casual cosplay. So, yeah. So with that type of percentage of cosplayers at a con, I don't think that even doing a pay extra VIP room for cosplayers would work the way that PAX East has done it. I'm not saying you can't come up with your own version with that type of demand, but the type of experience that PAX East provided would be very difficult to achieve at other cons. But it'd be interesting to see similar versions to it. So that'd be cool. Talking about Kineticon, that's what we went to next.
I think I went to PortCon, but that was only for a day, and I didn't really see anything. So I can't really say much about that one.
Okay. And we already talked about it previously as well.
I think so. I think we've talked about a couple of our cons previously.
Yeah, no, we have. Okay. But I remember you talking about that one specifically at our last episode, I want to say, at Cape.
Small cons versus big cons?
Yeah, I want to say you talked about that one.
Okay.
But Kineticon, I really like because it's a very nice medium con. It's a large medium con. If it's a medium con, if it's a medium like mid-range con that's on the higher But if it's a large con, then it's on the lower side of a large con. So it's kind of a weird.
I want to say Kineticon is probably one of the best gaming rooms that there is.
Yeah.
It's an entire like hall basically, and they have so many games. Like they have arcade games, and you can do board games. There's a bunch of other things, and that feels it's so easy to find too. Because with other cons, I'm just like the gaming room is like somewhere across on the other side of the entire convention center, and I don't want to go looking for it. But this one, it's literally right next to the exhibit hall.
Yeah. This is a con that is like a mid-level that I think crosses the border of being worth to travel to. I honestly think that we travel 3 hours to go to this con.
It was 2 hours.
2.5 hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would travel more for this con. Not that I would like to, but I would. Because it's a really nice blend. It offers a unique experience that, one, it's an all-genre type of pop culture nerd fest. So it's not like genre specific, so you have some really cool attributes of that when you're cosplaying at this con. And then also, it's a really nice, lots of stuff to do, but not overwhelming, and you can have lots of interaction with friends. It's a really nice mix of those two other those like big and small con features that this one blends pretty nicely.
You've got a lot of moments where you can relax, and there's a lot of space to do it too. Like that, the stairs.
But there's still a ton of stuff to do.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things to do. They have the death match. They have they have karaoke, which luckily, unluckily, this past year or last year, they didn't have it in the main room, so it wasn't echoing off the walls, and everyone had to listen to other people sing. Which, I kind of would like to do that, just to sing out, and then maybe have some of my friends be like, "Is that who we think it is?" But I get it. I mean, it can be distracting. Moving around though. Oh, not moving around, but I do feel like with ConnecticCon, they do have a lot of opportunities to have entry and exit points, and they don't utilize that.
Yep, I would agree. And I don't know if it's a problem with security, which I feel like they can also be improved. It wasn't horrible, but there was definitely some interactions with people that I heard that weren't ideal. And so, yeah, there are definitely points that they can improve, but they're far doing more things correctly than they're doing incorrectly. I remember the first time I went there, they had some problems with handicap access to things, and I think this year they really improved on it. So that's good to hear, because that's a huge no-no to me. If that's a line that you do not cross. You got to make sure that those people are provided for, because shunning those people is a really bad look for the entire space and the community and how you treat them. So good on them for improving on that. I'm sure they still have room to improve, but I know that there was definitely leaps and bounds made in that area.
It was also nice having actual food options, because they had the food trucks right across the street.
Food festival going on right across the street, very convenient.
I mean, it's not like, oh, this is amazing for dinner, but it's something convenient. Well, with a lot of cons, I find it difficult to find a fair amount of places that are close by that are convenient for me to go to. Like, if we're lucky, we find like a Subway or McDonald's or something. If we're lucky. But with this one, there was a Subway there, but there was also options, which were the food trucks, and you could just go around, see whatever you liked. And then also there was non-con goers who were going to that. They'd see people in cosplay, and they'd just be like, "Wait, those guys?" And there's music going too, and if you know me, I love dancing. Like, I will dance to my heart stops beating. Yeah, basically. I basically made a fool of myself a couple times, but I don't care, because I was having a lot of fun. They had music going, they had bands going, they had songs that were coming out present day. And I was there last year or 2 years ago as Luigi. I was just busting a move all around. I literally got on a couple of music videos, and people just started videoing me. I'm just like, okay, you guys enjoy this?
I'm good with this.
All right, like what you see, here you go.
I really like those interactions, because they don't make it as awkward as like going to a nice restaurant in cosplay.
Yeah, well,
the people that are at the food truck festival, they're there to have fun. They see cosplayers and they think it's great, and they're not awkward about
it. They're like, yeah. Well, going back 2 years ago, the day before I cosplayed Luigi, I was doing a Deadpool cosplay, casual Deadpool, because I had the onesie and I had the mask. I was just walking around, and people were saying, like, it's the most generic, kind of boring looking costume that I could have worn. But people see Deadpool and they're just like, oh my goodness, it's Deadpool. So I lived it up. I was dancing around. I was being a fool, and I loved it.
Nice. Love that con. Can't wait to go back this year. I was only able to go half the weekend last year. This weekend, got the whole weekend available, because it's a really good, chillaxing con. Yeah. So yeah. Before we move on with the rest of the cons, I'd like to put a little plug in to a new show that's coming up with Geek Kind. It is of the first kind of what we're calling a Geek Kind Connections project, which what that means is that we are working with an outside personality to produce a show, because we want to make more shows here at Geek Kind, but we only have so many people here at HQ. And we want to bring more content for you guys. So we're collaborating with some other people to help them produce ideas that they have. And this first one just so happens to be cosplay related. It's called Cosplay Motion. And it's hosted by our friend named Cole. And we're making this thing where she's really, really talented and masterful at making cosplays. And she's going through the process of all the things that she learned from making a specific cosplay and these things, and the lessons that you can take away from it, and just tips and tricks to help you from a person who goes very in-depth and very detail-oriented with her cosplays. And showing that for you guys. And after showing that process, we have a little fun with it and we make a cosplay music video right after the point. So not only do you see the cosplay in a cool setting, but you like appreciate it more because you know how every single element was made and the meaning behind it. And it's a really cool thing. And that will be premiering we have a pilot episode that we need you guys to check out and give feedback on, because until we make the actual season, we want to know what adjustments we need to make and how we exactly want to present this new show. So we have a pilot that's going to be most likely different in style-wise, how it's going to be treated going forward after this. But we want to get this out here so we can get feedback from you guys. Tell us what you think and what you would like to see when the show actually kicks off. But yeah, you can see that pilot this Friday. Which would be, today is the 3rd, when we are recording this, it is the 4th when you're listening to this, so it is the 8th. So look for the first episode for that on our YouTube channel or on geekkind.tv, and until then, here is a little teaser from the pilot.
The second thing that I went into was actually this waistband, and it's currently unfinished, and actually a huge problem with that is that all of these lines are horizontal and vertical, and when you're putting something around a waist has a triangular shape. So when you put a flat rectangular object or shape around a triangular, then you end up with this space at the top of your triangle. And so the way that I usually get around this is you create a curve out of your shape. So your shape kind of makes a half circle. But because my lines were all going horizontal and vertical, if I made a circle, then my lines would be off. So like fixing it sort of in the back was an extremely frustrating challenge, and it's probably not going to be the way that I want it either, but at least I'm still getting my lines straight, because that was really important to me, that those would go straight and across.
All right, so look forward to seeing more of that very soon. And please, I mean it, we really need feedback on this because we want to make this show as good as we can. And we'd love to know what you guys would want to see, what we can do differently, what we can do better. So please provide us feedback on that and let us know what you think. And we're hoping to bring that to you sometime this summer/fall. So yeah, look forward to that. More cosplay related content from Geek Kind. So where were we? We just finished off with Kineticon, and now we are looking at Cape, which we did a show there. Thank you so much, Cosplay and Photography Expo and Nerd Caliber, for letting us host our first ever live show, anything Geek Kind related, but certainly first for Coscast, and it was a lot of fun. We had so much fun doing that live show, and a little teaser, maybe we're looking into some other opportunities to do another one of those live shows. More on that sometime later in the year. We'll see. But yeah, we love that experience. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for everyone who showed up. We had definitely more people than I thought were going to show up, which was really cool to see.
Well, it was late at night. It was like the last thing for that room, basically. Like we had to get out as
we were the
fast as
closer.
possible. Yeah, pretty much. And I honestly really enjoyed it, mostly because I got to use a microphone, and I never get to do that. So if I can be as weird and bizarre and if hopefully funny, then I'll go for that. And if I have a microphone, then I'm just like, I'm there. I'm enjoying my time. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and that whole con, definitely a small con, but a lot of attention towards the cosplay and cosplay photographer community, which is something
attention?
Attention. Yeah. Sorry. It's something that no other con really focus on as much as they do. And it's really neat. And all the people there are really there for new connections, to learn stuff. The panels there are high quality, much higher quality than what you would see normally at a con for this attendance rate. They have big name cosplayer, big name cosplay photographers coming there. It's great. I believe this year they're taking an off year. They'll be back in 2020, I believe. Okay. They're working on improving things and building up funds to build an even better con. So stay tuned for that come next year. But we will definitely be looking forward to their return when they come back. And thank you again so much for that experience, because we had a great time.
I also found out that I might be pretty good at ASMR videos, so maybe I should look into that field.
Yeah.
Just find weird sounds to,
Yeah. Right after that, and by right after, I mean 3 days after that,
What?
I flew out for RTX Austin.
Oh, okay.
Holy crap. I'll try not to drag on too much, but this was one of the best, most unique con experiences that I had in my life. And this, obviously, it's a little bit personal because I've been wanting to go to RTX ever since they introduced the convention in 2011. If you don't know what RTX is, it's the Rooster Teeth Expo, which is their con and celebration of everything Rooster Teeth related. So that includes Ruby, that includes Camp, that includes Red versus Blue, all like Achievement Hunter, Funhouse, all their like other channel networks and all the things they do. And it's just so massive now, it's crazy. And it's so unreal to go there in what sometimes feels like a more niche community and go there where that's what everybody wants to talk about, is that thing that you love that is becoming more mainstream, but definitely still more niche. And I don't mean niche in a small sense. I mean just like it's not like top tier popularity within the nerd community. It's there and it's still working its way up the ladder slowly, but it's not Marvel. No,
definitely not.
It's not DC.
It's much more personal, I think, with this community because we're all there for most of the same thing. Like, I think the biggest things for us is Ruby, Camp, and Red versus Blue. And if we are fans of most of those, then pretty much all the people there you will be able to talk to.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to a con, you're looking for people who might be cosplaying the same thing or something that you really, really like. So you have to be on the lookout for them. You just have to turn next to you, and then you'll find someone who you can just talk to about stuff.
A great example of this exact fact is that I showed up at the airport, and there was already truckloads of people coming in wearing Rooster Teeth merch, and I was charging my phone. I was waiting, waiting for like a ride or something like that. I forget why I was waiting. I was waiting for a ride, and I was charging my phone, sitting in the airport, and watching all these people coming for RTX, clearly by their merch, and all these people who don't know each other, who were coming into like small circles. It's like, hey, you're going to RTX. Yeah, I am. And they start talking. I did this with a random group of people because I was just excited to be in Austin for the first time in this place that they're always talking about. And just to immediately go there, see people like, this is what we're here for. And just the enthusiasm was through the roof. And that stayed true through the entire weekend. And everybody was just head over heels excited to be there. And the hype level for this weekend was off the charts. And it was really, really, really special. It's not your traditional con in the sense where you have your normal events and supplies. However, they still have a really, really amazing dealers room. They have really great panels, but they're very like personality driven based on their own content. So if you're not someone who follows their content, there's less to enjoy. But if you're looking for a reason to enjoy their content, RTX is a shining example of their accomplishments.
Didn't you see like a banner for RTX at the airport?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there that?
Yeah, they were advertising, right? And that was like the first thing I saw. I'm going down the escalator after I just arrived at the airport, and there's an RTX banner right there, and I'm just like, yes, I'm so excited. Because despite this being more of a niche community, this con is now huge. It is enormous. They take up the entire Austin Convention Center, which is no joke. That's a large convention center. And they went from taking one room, like one exhibit hall in the entire convention, to now the entire convention center. Wow. And it's really impressive what they've done. And just so much fun to be had there. It's just so much fun. And if you're someone who enjoys Rooster Teeth content, do yourself a favor, one point in your life, go down to RTX Austin, and you will not regret it. It was a great time. Also, Austin, great city. It was really cool to check out Austin in general, too. So, yeah. Next one that we have.
We're coming up on one that you aren't a big fan of, right?
Yeah. One of the very few that I'm not a fan of is Boston Comic Con. And it hurts me to say this because it's my first con. My first two cons. Went 2015, 2016. First two cons before I started jumping into this whole massive community of cosplay. And since then, they've moved locations, and I think their adjustments have been less than ideal. They moved from the Seaport Convention Center to the main Boston Convention Center where PAX East is held. But right now, they're only occupying half of it. Yeah. And I understand, like, money-wise, it's really freaking expensive, But that being said, even negating that, they're not using that half to its potential.
I mean, the only reason that I see for them to actually use that convention center is that it's more room for people, for the lines to be close by, basically. Because with the Seaport Center, everyone is winding around the building.
Yeah.
But honestly, them not using that space makes me wonder, besides lines, what the point was of moving, because it was basically the same amount of space.
Same amount of crowding.
And honestly, the place, like the space upstairs was awesome. Like there's like a sky bridge.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. There's like a courtyard and everything. Great place.
We're talking about the Seaport Center, by the way.
Yeah, Seaport Center.
Yeah. There is a nice outdoor area for that.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was amazing. And then they moved the next year, and I was like, hey, I like that place though.
Yeah. It was different, and I know that it had its space issues, but they used that space a lot better than this new place. And I want to say that one of those distinct changes is that the owning company changed. It's now no longer called Boston Comic Con. It's called Fan Expo East. No, Fan Expo Boston, by the way. So if you're confused about what con we're talking about, that's why we're old school. We refer to it as Boston
It's not as fun to say Fan Expo Boston Comic Con.
And I don't want to say I'm putting the blame on Fan Expo is ruining the con. I don't think it's that at all. I
How
just
dare
think
they change the name?
Yeah. I just think that it's not a bad con as well. And they actually have a nice attention to the cosplay community. You know, they have a nice corner where they have more stuff in the dealer's room related to cosplay stuff.
Well,
and they have cosplay guests.
Yeah, cosplay guests.
Which is great. And so that's kind of nice. They have great panels. It's not a bad convention to go to for attendees, but for cosplayers, it's lacking, especially when space is more important to us.
The space thing did bother me a fair amount, but honestly, I still had a pretty great time there. I thought there was a lot of stuff that I was able to enjoy.
Time. Yeah.
I don't think that it bothers me as much as it got to you. I was there the entire weekend, so I was able to go back and forth between the hotel, which was nice. I was able to wind down a little bit, but yeah, I was still like, I was having a pretty okay time. Again, with the Comic Cons, the crowd's a little bit different. I feel like with anime cons, they understand cosplayers more and they respect cosplayers a little bit more in their cosplays. Like they want to be, very gentle and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And when you're in a crowd with people who don't notice that sort of thing or have a sensitivity to that, then it's a little bit. It's not. You don't feel as safe as a cosplayer. Not like safe, but like you don't feel like your cosplay is as safe.
Yeah, the language is a bit different.
Yeah.
Because the anime community has a higher percentage of cosplayers than just the Comic-Con community, the laws of consent and stuff is much more well versed in the anime community than it is in the Comic-Con community. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say that it's the con's fault. I know
they have the billboards.
Yeah, they have the billboards. They try to get the message out there, but I think the community as a whole needs to change for the better regarding cosplayers, and that's something that's going to take time. I'm sure over the years they've gotten better. It's just not at the pace where everybody else is right now. So they're a bit behind.
I would say that it was probably a lot worse at Rhode Island Comic Con, honestly.
That's true.
Yeah.
My gripe with them is that they've had a year to adjust now. This is their second year at this new convention, and literally nothing changed layout-wise, and I'm disappointed by that. And I'm disappointed because that con has so much potential. It has, bar none, one of the best dealers' rooms in New England, and it is so hard to enjoy what they have there because it's so crammed all the time.
Yeah.
Very, it's not just a Saturday thing. It's an all-weekend thing. Mm-hmm. Saturday, it's unbearable. Friday and Sunday, it's bad,
I'd say it was pretty good on this last Sunday, though.
Well, towards the end, as things are winding out, sure. But I'm like, during prime time of any given day, it's bad.
That's fair.
Yeah.
If it's bad on the set Friday and Sunday.
And again, at the Seaport Center, it's more acceptable because you see that they're using the entire convention. You see that they're trying to make the most out of the space. But here, when literally you're tired and stressed out by being cramped, and then you leave, and as you're leaving the convention center, you see all the open space they have upstairs. You see the entire room that's dedicated solely for bringing people in for tickets, which isn't being used for 3/4 of the day. And then you see the entire other half of the convention center that's not even being used. And I know that's a lesser point because they can't afford it yet, and I understand that. But putting that aside, the space that they have right now is not being used to its full potential, and I'm not seeing much progress to make any better of that.
Well, what do you mean by not afford it? Because if they're using that space for tickets, then that means that they're paying for that space, right?
So they've got 4 sections. They're using 2 out of 4 sections.
Okay.
1 section for the dealer's room, and also, by the way, the main stage, which I think is a mistake. And then the other section of the other half of that section is for all the tickets and checking people in. And then you have the 2 other sections that's just not even being used by the con.
I think they could just use 1/2 section for tickets, basically, because that place was basically empty.
And that's what I'm saying. Or even, I know it takes manpower, but even take the time to, after they're done bringing that first wave of people in, because after that, they even bring you to a different location to check in. They don't bring you to that room anymore after a certain time of the day, because I came in there right after noon, and they didn't bring me over there. They brought me to a different ticket location place instead of that room that's dedicated just for that. Yeah. So take the time, move the lines, like put the main stage there at least. You know, that wouldn't be too hard. I feel like you can make room for the main stage there. And this situation could be more complicated than I'm making it out to be. But as someone who's been to several conventions, I feel like I have at least some credibility when it comes to con layouts and what other cons, because I'm comparing it to other cons and also themselves. I know that they can be better than this. And this is not me slamming them down and hating on the con. This is me being, I know you're better than this. You have so much potential and I want you to be your full potential, but you're just not trying that hard right now. And that's disheartening to see as someone who has a very personal connection to this con. So that's why I have a bit of a gripe with it. It's like a tough love kind of thing, you know, and I want it to be better. Okay. So I'll move on from that, leave that be. And next, quick experience at Pop Cult. I only went there for a day.
I did not go.
You didn't go?
I was going to go, and then I had a problem in my car, so.
Yeah. It was a fun experience. It's definitely going to be interesting seeing AAC moving out of New Hampshire. Are
we going from Pop Cult to AAC?
No. I'm saying, like, so AAC is, like, you know, moving out of New Hampshire, and their dates are wonky, and just, they're rebranding, basically, AAC. Pop Cult has a lot of that same spirit that went into making AAC, and definitely a lot of the same foundings as a commitment to being quality over quantity. They grew it exponentially this year. This was their 2nd year. They almost doubled in size, both in attendees and content. They got a bigger room for the main stage, which was great. All their stuff was quality, and that's a really good community thing. Yeah, it's a smaller con, but that's when you use to connect with people. And the staff, and I know the staff there, really good hearts running that, and they're really out there to put the best foot forward in the anime community. So best wishes for them. I really hope you guys are successful, and I want you guys to keep growing and be one of those really quality small cons. I would want nothing more than for them to be that. You know?
I love small cons.
So after that, we had ColossCon East, which...
Well, ColossCon, you had ColossCon, I had GraniteCon.
You talk about GraniteCon real quick.
Again, I only went for a day, but GraniteCon is also, I'd say, pretty near and dear to my heart because it was the second con, the different con that I went to for the first time. Because I went to Boston Comic Con 2016, and then you were going to GraniteCon. I'm like, I think I'll take hitch a ride with you, basically. And we went there, and it was a one-day thing. It was back when we didn't really know anybody, but it was pretty enjoyable. And then I've gone the last couple of years, and it's been terrific. I mean, because I've grown more as a cosplayer, I want to show things that I've built, basically. So I brought my big armor build. I brought Ida, basically. And at smaller cons, it feels really good to bring something like that because, again, that's more of a community-based con. That's, people from Manchester going to the con. And they're just like, oh my goodness, that is incredible looking. Like, they see cosplay is significant, but, like, if you see, like, a big cosplay or a bulky or something that just is aesthetically interesting and that's basically what I was going for. And I was really happy to bring a cosplay that I was proud of, and I thought that other people could see and be like, that's interesting. I like seeing that.
Yeah.
And there was other cosplayers from the same show, My Hero Academia, who were there, and it's always fun to meet up with them. It's always fun to just see them and be like geeking out about the show, geeking out about the characters, swapping ideas about cosplay, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was there for a day, and I didn't get to appreciate it fully just because I I got like 3 hours of sleep the night before. But I did bring a casual cosplay because walking around in bulky armor for a full day is not fun. So I brought that, which definitely made it a lot easier. And I also went to the costume contest there. My friend, she was actually part of the walk-on. She did her Doctor Strange cosplay, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, hers is great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, gender bend cosplay. It was really, really good. And I think the costume contest was done quite well, I'd say. I wasn't entirely satisfied with the results, but whoever is, basically.
It's true. A cosplay is truly never finished, let's be honest.
I will say that I am pretty disappointed with the hotel that the con is being taken. Yeah. I don't know if it's still called the Radisson or not.
Oh, that's right. I think they changed names.
They've been renovating the place. So it's not the place that I remember. They've closed down the restaurant that's there. And I think they've redone everything that's in like the exhibit hall and the artist style or whatever. And I don't like seeing change like that. Like, I'm not a big fan of change. So when somebody does something like that, I'm just like, why would you do that?
For sure.
You're changing something that I love. Still a fun con. I only got to go for a day, but it was decent.
Nice. One thing that I still don't know where you stand on this. Really trying to get you to go to CosCon East, because damn, that is one of my favorite cons.
I'm not a swimsuit cosplayer.
Yeah, I understand. If you're wondering about CosCon East, they have CosCon, which is in Ohio, which happens right before the start of the summer, and then they have CosCon East, which happens right at the end of summer. And East happens not in Ohio; it happens in Pennsylvania. So for the people who live in New England or just on more of the East Coast, it's a little bit more accessible for them. And they use the same company resort for it. So it's a very similar vibe. If you're familiar with CosCon East is a similar vibe. And it's such a different experience because you can't go into this like it's a normal con. You have to go into this as more of like a really, really cool cosplay meet. Because yes, they have the traditional con stuff. They've got their artist alley and exhibit hall and the panels and all that stuff, but it's in a separate location. And yes, you have that available and you go to that, but then also you'll end up spending a good amount of time, if not the majority amount of time, in the water park. It's one of the best times to bring a swimsuit cosplay. In my case, sometimes I like bringing cosplays that involve being like bare-chested or just a bit more exposing cosplays where it seems more appropriate there, you know. Because everybody's doing swimsuits, so it doesn't see as weird. Yeah. So
when you think about like anime characters who have their shirts open all the time, you don't want to be going to like a family-friendly con, and that is like a little weird.
Or when I did Crash Bandicoot, you know, you don't wear.
You're not gonna wear that in a convention center.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, you know. So
that's body bang,
I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that it is definitely more comfortable to do those types of cosplays in this environment. And CosCon East is one really fun time. And the water park rides are so cool. They have so many hot tubs just to chillax in. And it's just a great time. They got great people running it, and they really got put to the test this year because they had a little bit of an issue. I say a little bit. For some people, it was a lot of an issue.
A big hiccup.
On Sunday, where there was a complaint by a normal attendee at the resort coming out on Sunday that there was all these people being quote-unquote inappropriately dressed.
You're at a water park.
Yeah, at a water park.
They're going to be wearing bikinis and stuff.
Yep. And there were people, and she was referring to pictures that were not at this convention. She was complaining that they were taking up too much space with the photos and photo sheets and stuff like that. And they went to the hotel staff instead of the convention staff, and they made a call that, you know what, the con is ending later today anyways. Shut it down. No more cosplay props, no more cosplay photos of any kind. They went too far with it. They told people who were taking selfies, yes, selfies, to stop taking photos because any photos of cosplay was now banned. No props of any kind. And when I mean no props, I mean no props. One of my friends who had a cape, not even a full cape, a half cape, was denied to bring that cape into the convention. It was such a ridiculous level of treatment from the hotel that there was outrage online and then followed, which I thought was hilarious, a meme fest of all these things.
Going back to the cold cape thing, I want to say if there was a little kid who even tied his towel around his neck and went around, I would have been like, no, you can't wear that. What are you doing?
So
no cosplay.
It was, and I want to say this was a miscommunication from the hotel resort, which is directly hosting this convention, to the actual convention staff. And by the time word got to the convention staff, what was going on?
They were leaving, right?
What?
I think the
no, they were still presenting for
the
that
head
day,
of staff.
but it was going till 4. Okay. This call was made around noon, so there's still 4 hours left of this con, and they're shutting down things at the water park, which was not a part of the agreement, by the way. But they went ahead and made the call that this was the appropriate action based off the complaint. And this is one of the problems is that they don't have enough attendees to take the entire the entire hotel for the entire weekend yet. They're getting close to that point because that's how it is in Ohio. They're so well attended that there's literally no non-con attendees at the hotel. It's 100% them, so you don't have to worry about those types of complaints. But Coscon East is not there yet. So the convention staff, they apologized profusely for it. They had meetings immediately following about the situation and how it was handled and how it was not a part of their agreement. And recently, like last month, they made a follow-up about, hey, we were really, really, really sorry that this happened. We are looking to make this relationship better for this to never happen again in the future. And we hope that you will trust us that we can fix this issue. And they've been so mature about the response, about making this better. And honestly, I think that it needs to be left what it is, and don't let this change your view on ColossCon East. Because yeah, it sucked. Yeah, it was totally unfair. Yeah, it ruined a lot of people's Sundays of the con. But crap like that sometimes happens, just like with Genericon with the snowstorm. You can't entirely blame the convention when it's out of their control. You know?
I guess you could say that the hotel staff got into hot water with that one.
Was that Alex making a pun instead of me?
Don't get used to it. Don't get used to it. I cosplay Yang once and this happens.
Is this a new wave of puns?
Nah, I'm uncomfortable. Let's move on.
Anyways, I love ColossCon so much, and I really see that the commitment with the people behind it, and props to them for taking ownership of this, even though that it wasn't their fault, and doing everything they can to make this better. So please go support them this year when it comes to ColossCon East in September. I can't recommend that con enough. It's one of the most unique experiences that you could have con-wise, and I love it. We had one shared experience to end out the year, but before that I had one more footnote to throw in there, which is the fact that I went to Rhode Island Comic Con for a day. And my synopsis on this con, which still stands, is that Rhode Island Comic Con is a great convention, but it's a struggling, stressful event for cosplayers. By the nature of the layout of the con, which they can't really do much about, and just the general surrounding of the environment and how security, they could do better with security, but it's tough. I will say they did make strides to do better with security.
I mean, it's Rhode Island.
Yeah. Well, they made strides to do better with the flow of traffic as well.
Sorry.
They made the Sky Bridge 2-way this time instead of a 1-way thing, which was a huge break.
Goodness.
They didn't stop you from. They didn't make the Dunkin' Donuts Center a 1-way traffic pattern.
Because that was the one thing that really got to me. So with the convention center, the Dunkin' Donuts Center, the way that you want to go into the convention center is on your right when you walk in. They had us going all the way to, we were going left and all the way around the Dunkin' Donuts Center just to go right.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, the Dunkin' Donuts Center is a hockey rink where they used the outskirts of the hockey rink, where you normally find your merch for the hockey game, stuff like that, as like an artist alley kind of thing that's in a big loop.
I can't even appreciate it.
It's really hard because that loop takes a good 2 minutes to circle, like a long.
If you're
2
lucky.
minutes. Yeah. And so to not be able to go immediately right to the Skybridge, to the main convention center, to have to take that full circle around, that's a huge deal, especially for someone who has a problem walking or maybe is in a wheelchair. That's a big deal, you know? So
it's terrifying. It's crowded and it's cramped.
It's a long, long walk. So especially for people who are not handicapped, but are handicapped by their cosplays and how they can move effectively, that's a tall order. So I know they're trying. They are getting better with it, but they still have progress to go. And I'm not saying don't go to Rhode Island Comic Con. I'm just saying that I'm just facing the fact that it's not ideal for cosplayers.
If you don't want to go through the whole Dunkin' Donuts Center, you might want to look into, or whoever wants to go, they might want to look into getting a hotel room at the hotel that's connected.
Omni.
Yeah,
at the Omni. If you stay at the Omni, you get your own private entrance to the convention, which is pretty sweet, but it does feel kind of bad when you have people waiting outside for 2 hours in line just to get to the
We could walk
center.
several blocks to get to the end of the line.
That was still an issue this year, by the way. So that's something that still should be amended.
Just cut their
no fire hazard this year, at least. Yeah, that's a small accomplishment, by the way. That's a huge no-no.
A nice little perk.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so they are getting better. But let me tell you, Rhode Island Comic Con, in the entire, like, it's right up there by San Diego Comic Con when it comes to their guest list. They pull a massive amount of guests and a massive amount of A-list guests for this cons. It's very hard to find in cons in the country, let alone New England. By bar none, the best guest list of conventions in New England, and it's up there top 10 in the country, I'd say. So props to them for really having that distinction. And that's why I say it's a great con to go as an attendee, like a normal attendee, to see guests. Great con to go to. Mm-hmm. As a cosplayer, it's a bit rough.
It's pretty rough.
So, but that being said, me and Alex, I went to this the year before, but now you got to join me this year. We went to Anime NYC, which happened mid-November, and I love this con.
The con was good.
What was your first impressions?
Walking. Yeah. So
New York City, baby.
The problem with this, well, one of the things that was difficult was there was no connecting hotel, but also we were kind of left out to dry when it came to a hotel because we had a hotel set up and everything, and then some people had to fall out, so we had to get someplace else. So we stayed at a Airbnb, which meant a little more walking. It would have been really, really terrible if all the snow had stayed, but luckily it
melted pretty quickly. Yeah,
it melted Friday, and Saturday was pretty much fine.
Because yet again I went to New York City and there was another blizzard. So
it took us like 10, 12 hours.
It took us what normally from Boston, New York City was a 4-hour drive to 11 hours. Yes, more than double the time. 11 hours to get there. The only people who were not late to that convention were people who took the train. I think it was a half-hour delay from people.
We were watching the train drive by us.
No problems, because when I say blizzard, it was a few inches really quick, but it was still only a few inches. So it's not like...
It was enough to scare the people who don't know how to drive in snow.
And not enough, apparently, because we saw a lot of accidents on 84.
Well, you tried to take basically every way into New York, and all of them were, like, shut down.
Yeah, because as soon as we got to the New York line... they had shut down the highways, only back ways. And then when you got to Manhattan, as in the island, there's only so many entry points into that island, and every single one of them is bottlenecked, as far as the eye can see. It was bad, but that's again not a knock at the con, just a situational thing. Unfortunately, that was on Thursday, not Friday. By Friday, everything was good. It was a warm, sunny day. It was like a new city.
There was slush, but luckily that wasn't too bad because I wasn't wearing a cosplay that touched the ground. At least not armor, because again I wasn't wearing Ida on Friday. I had a really, really great time at this con. I think one of the problems that they had was at the beginning they said that the hall would open at a certain time, and then they said, oh yeah, it's going to open at like noon or 1. Everyone was there already. We're all standing around. We're just like, we want to go in.
They did have a problem with that, and then the line getting into that was very not well done, and they admitted to it. They were the first ones to say, hey, we did not do that line justice. It was not handled right, and they improved it for the rest of the weekend, and they looking to keep that improvement plus more in the coming future.
Well, it was kind of funny because I was on a different level looking down at the con, and when they actually opened up the hall, I just watched a surge of people rush forward. Like there was no line.
Yeah.
There was a wave.
Though there was a line, and then there wasn't a line. As soon as it started, it's like the line
Everyone
was pointless.
Pushed forward. I've
rough.
never seen something like that. Just seeing like several hundred people surge forward like that. That was intense to watch, and I was so glad that I was somewhere else. But their exhibition hall was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Really, really cool. I mean, it's Crunchyroll produced, so they had a lot of really awesome stuff.
They've got a lot of big companies representing themselves in a big way. Kind of like how PAX East brings in the big companies to have really big, awesome booths with the game companies. So does Anime NYC with their collaboration with Crunchyroll brings in the big companies in anime.
Crunchyroll, Aniplex, Funimation,
Viz Media.
Yeah, they had a stage, basically like a small stage where you could do a Like people would go there and they had lights handed out, and you could do a little.
Oh yeah, they were
little
showing
music
people
thing.
how to do the when you go to like anime. There's a better word for this. People are gonna cringe right now. When you go to like anime concerts, it's not what it's called.
Yeah, I forget.
When
what
you go to see the digital girl and you're waving the wands. Yeah, I'm doing this terribly.
Well, they have
I'm
a very
sorry.
specific way of doing the wands. They're like it's kind of like drumming, or it's like spinning.
Yeah, and they're doing the cool things.
It was very cool to watch.
I'm so sorry. There are so many people that's yelling at us right now. But like it's called.
We don't know. Okay?
Whatever this is, I know there's a specific name for it, and I know there's a specific name for all the dancing that they're doing, and it's just not in my head right now.
Yeah.
So.
But okay, so that hall was pretty awesome,
And
then oh dude, Artist Alley.
Artist Alley.
Artist Alley was amazing. There was Artist Alley and Artist Alley 2. We go through Artist Alley and it's cramped. It wasn't very easy to move in, but there was so many beautiful things to look at. And
that you weren't really bothered by you were not moving too fast.
I mean, it was kind of difficult if you're wearing a big cosplay,
That's
but
true.
honestly, like basically everywhere I turned, I saw something that I really appreciated. Mostly being My Hero Academia, but I was looking at it, I'm like, that's cool and it's unique. And then the thing right next to it is cool and unique. And then Artist Alley basically was a T, right?
Yeah.
You go up the stairs, there's the hall, the hallway,
Then
and then you
opens up.
go forward past that, and then it splits.
Yep.
It turns into a T basically.
And it's the same size as the first entryway, so it's massive.
It was so cool.
And the quality, so good. So many unique and different artists. This truly was not the same Artist Alley that you're used to seeing at every other anime
definitely
con.
not.
Totally unique stuff, really good quality stuff, and really great people behind them too. I had great conversations with the people there.
You gotta love Artist Alley exhibitors. Yeah.
And the great thing is that they had crowding issues this year. They didn't the year before. This is Anime NYC's second year. And
You can't blame them.
right. But yeah, they're doing amazing things. Did this feel like a new con to you?
Not really. I felt like it was huge.
And I want to say that the professional attitude that's going into this and organization, same thing as last year. It is so professionally and well organized, even despite that one hiccup that they had on Friday, that you have no idea this is a new con. It's
Compared
so well
to the
run.
other cons that we've been to, knowing that this is a baby con,
It's
you wouldn't
crazy.
know that if you
Yeah.
didn't know that. Well, obviously you don't know if you don't know. But it doesn't have that feeling, basically.
No. And I want to say, you can tell that New York City's been hungering for a really good anime con for so long because the atmosphere here, just from the attendees, from the staff, who is all volunteer, and all the people that go into this, through the roof. You go there, you are super excited, people are super engaged, and it is one of the most good vibe cons that I've ever been to across to any fandom.
I want to say, like, if you get at least 2 or 3 cosplayers from the same group together, you're gonna get stopped. Like
A lot.
Friday, I was Genos from One Punch Man, and luckily I was I was hanging out with Full Health Cosplay, who's absolutely amazing. He has the lights and everything.
Yeah.
But there was also we found a couple other One Punch cosplayers, and we couldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
He literally lost a finger from his cosplay, and he didn't know where it was because they just moved around so much. It was so
gosh.
slow, and it took us like I want to say half an hour to move from the exhibit hall to right outside the doors. It was that intense. We couldn't move basically, and it was absolutely amazing. That was my first day there, and I was just like, I'm already having a brilliant time. Like I don't want to move, but I have to move because I have to take time to walk back to where we're staying.
It's so amazing when you can get like almost the entirety of your filming that you need for a con in the first day.
Yeah.
Where you're just like going into Saturday, it's like anything could happen now. It's already been a fantastic weekend.
I mean, I think I went into the exhibit hall. I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I went in by myself. And then I went to the Artist Alley. I'm just like, oh, okay, I like this. And then I find my group. And that's just, it makes it.
And so here's the great thing, right? So they had their first crowding issue with the Artist Alley. The dealer's room almost doubled in size this year. Artist Alley couldn't grow because it was already maxed out last year. They are moving Artist Alley to a different room so it can grow and be better spaced out. So they're already addressing that complaint that people started to have at certain points. Because it wasn't always cramped, just sometimes during peak hours. It's a bit cramped. They're already addressing it. Already moving into a bigger room, and that's fantastic.
I mean, I liked having it upstairs, but okay.
Yeah, no, but this is how it is because they're still only using half the Javits Center. So this con has so much room to grow.
That's right, because they had PetCon too going at the same time, so we saw a couple of dogs walking around, and I loved it.
It was pretty great.
I should have gone to that con too.
That's a good combination. Anime con and pet con. No complaints here. I saw dogs cosplay because they're going to both cons.
I know. I'm just like, thank you, God. I appreciate it.
We were blessed. Again, the people running this con are so good. They're so in with the community, know what they're doing, and also something that's really awesome. Weekend tickets, $65. That's how it was last year, and that's how it's staying this year. $65 for a weekend pass in New York City. For this type of con, that is a bargain bin discount because the level of quality and professional things that are put into this con, you could, not saying you should, you could charge $65 a day.
Yeah.
Because this has similar vibes to PAX East that charge $55 a day to go to. $65 for the weekend is nuts. You will never find a con that gives you more bang for your buck than this one right here. So I'm using that as a segue to say you have no excuse not to go to this. I know New York City is a lot. If you are comfortable being in New York City, you have no excuse.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. They don't have a connected hotel, which does make it rough.
And if you're familiar with the Javits, you understand that.
You have to walk to the con, which in New York, it's not that great. So that is a downside. Mm-hmm. And also New York is so expensive. So that does make it a relief to have a cheaper ticket.
Yeah.
But I feel like you do have to have a little more commitment to this con. But I will say that it's worth it.
Absolutely.
It's definitely worth it.
And we had one heck of a time trying to get there. And I was really... After that 11-hour journey, again, just like at CanScon, one of those moments, it's like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. What am I doing with my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of those, like, real surreal moments where it's like, this is my life right now. I'm driving to New York City in a blizzard to dress up at a weeb convention.
Yeah.
What is my life?
I think all of us cosplayers have felt that at some point, just being like, this is what I'm doing.
But literally, once we woke up that morning, we went out for breakfast, and it was sunny. And we saw New York not like in a panic from the blizzard. Everything was normalized, and it was a new day.
Moving.
Yeah, the traffic was moving. And it was sunny and it was warm. All of a sudden, I was like, "No, this is gonna be a great weekend," and it was. And one of the best ways to end our con year because it's a really pure experience.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to going to it this year.
Yeah, so I can't recommend that enough. And really, there isn't any like I said, we gave our opinions about all the cons, but we
went in depth pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. So that's all we got. We got
all we got.
We got CastroCon coming up. We got a recap coming for you right there. We got the first traditional episode of Coscast coming out beginning of March. Mm-hmm. So look forward to that, and that will include the interviews and stuff that we're doing at CastroCon. So look forward to that. And don't forget to check out Cosplay Motion this Friday for the pilot. Give us your feedback so we can apply come the show official launch. We would love to see that. And yeah, thank you again for Hero Hair for sponsoring this episode and the entire season. You'll be hearing a lot about them this coming season for sure. We can't thank you guys enough for believing us and putting your money where your mouth is. And thank you so much. So make sure you check them out, herohair.com. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Until next time.